Sony PlayStation received, rather deservedly in my opinion 95% of the time, rather a lot of people taking a chain-wrapped baseball bat to their knees for their long history of anti-consumer BS. I'd compile a list of all of them for you as receipts for that statement, but then I'd have no time left for the actual point of this video, and I've already got a funny feeling it's going to be longer than I intended it to be, because I am full of frustration, and that often means I'm going to ramble a little bit, so strap in. Suffice to say, though, anyone who denies Sony is routinely consumer hostile is simply ignorant, probably willfully ignorant, in some kind of misplaced tribalism. In any case, those chain-wrapped bats are out again right now over the incoming remaster of Horizon Zero Dawn. And frustratingly, a lot of people doing hit pieces are doing so very, very disingenuously. They're lying, basically, is what's happening. They're lying to you to trigger rage because hate gets clicks. So let's see if I can clear up some of that for you. In short, there's simply just a lot of stupidity, a lot of misinformation, either from ignorance or malice, and there's just some flat-out leaps of logic going on under the cloak of pro-consumer sentiment, but lying about this stuff doesn't do anyone any favors, so I'm here to pull it apart. Hello again, I am Blunty. 4 years ago, Horizon Zero Dawn, PlayStation's highly acclaimed action RPG, was released on PC. It was significant in a few ways, not least of which is how unusual it was, certainly at the time, for a formerly PlayStation-exclusive first-party AAA title to be ported to a competing platform at all. Horizon was, and I suppose continues to be, considered one of the best PlayStation 4 games ever released. I never played it in its original console release. I was having all my gamer time soaked up by what most people would consider to be an even better game, The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. A title many people consider to be one of the best games of all time, not just the best game on any given platform. But Horizon was always on my backlog to get to one day, when I was in the right mood, and at the time. But when the PC port was first being rumored, I decided to wait. If I was going to get the game and give it a go, I may as well play it on the significantly more powerful and flexible platform after all. However, when it released, it did so in a state that was so catastrophically broken, so crippled with stability and performance issues, incredibly bad optimization, stuttering and lurching performance. It was one of the worst cases I have ever seen, and is still one of the worst PC game launches I have experienced in all time. It was a disaster. And, of course, it got review bombed to absolute hell for its trouble, as it deserved. The game was literally, and I do mean literally, unplayable for me. It was performing so badly I could not play it, even on what was at the time quite a powerful PC build. So I didn't play it when it launched, and I still haven't played it actually. Even after several patches, it was finally considered stable and sufficiently optimized enough to call it quote-unquote fixed. The review bombing let up, and these days it's got a mostly positive rating for recent reviews and very positive overall. I was still intending to get around to it. I hadn't written it off. I wasn't sort of that bitter about how it was at launch. I mean, I was pretty bitter about how it was at launch. They took my money and delivered me shit on a plate. Didn't make me happy, but I still wanted to give it a fair go. It's just that the round to it mood hadn't got to it yet. You know what I mean? So, now, here we are with a remaster incoming, and as usually happens with this kind of thing, from all developers by the way, is with a new incoming replacement version of the same game, upgraded in significant ways all over the shop. The older version has been delisted from the storefronts. It has not been deleted from the platforms. It has not been removed from Steam and Epic Games and whatnot, as people have claimed. It just hasn't. If you already own the game, like I do, you can still freely and easily download it from your library and reinstall it and play it without issue. Which I did 3 days after it was supposedly removed from Steam. I reinstalled it. just like I would any other game in my library. Delisting is not removing. Delisting simply means they're preventing new sales of the game from happening by not showing it on the storefront anymore. This is done to prevent confusion in the marketplace about having two versions of the exact same game title listed for sale at the same time. And don't tell me it wouldn't be confusing with the remaster in the title of one of them. You know damn well how stupid a lot of people are about stuff like this. Don't pretend for a moment that if both versions existed simultaneously, the forums and whatnot and Reddit subs and whatever wouldn't be constantly filled with people asking, which one should I get? Which one's the better one? So, that's the first lie debunked. They're not taking the game away from anybody. They're not removing it from any store. They're not deleting it from any existing owner's libraries. Anyone who claims anything like that is happening is catastrophically ignorant, at best, about how content libraries like Steam work. At worst, they're being disingenuous and lying to you just to get you all mad and shit. Oh, and by the way, the active players of the current version is sweet bugger all anyway. It's not like it was a very popular game to start with. In fact, the game has largely been ignored by PC gamers since its launch disaster. The second big lie I've seen people telling about the remaster's arrival is that, before the delisting happened, Sony, quote-unquote, quietly raised the price of the original version to stop people buying it cheap and then spending the relatively small price to upgrade to the remaster, an option that existing users get. In my case, 15 Aussie bucks. Doesn't seem so bad, really. So yeah, about that lie, Sony did not, quote-unquote, quietly reset the game to full price to scam people. Here is the evidence. This is the price history of the game over the last 2 years. This data is directly from Steam's own API. It is precise and it is accurate. As you can clearly see, if anyone's ever taught you to read a graph, the price has routinely been dropped for sales, something extremely normal. Initially, it was dropping to a 67% discount, and then, starting fully a year ago, its sales price regularly dropped to 75% discount. And the time it has spent on sale has been extremely consistent for the entirety of its existence. You can see it for yourself. It's right there in the data. The price was not quietly raised. It was just back to where it was always at when a sale ended. Except for on the exact same day it was delisted, that is, removed from sale for new sales, where it spiked to 110 Aussie bucks, the standard price Sony lists their new games at these days, which, gross. The important thing here is that price exists only on paper. Metaphorical paper, because we talk about digital storefronts, but you know what I mean. No one, and I mean no one, paid that price for it. No one could pay that price for it, because that happened when it was delisted, removed from sale. That price was applied on the exact day the old version of the game was removed from sale. Nobody paid that. Nobody could pay that, even if they wanted to. That price, by the way, is in fact more than they're actually asking for the new player price on the remastered edition anyway. It would make no sense to do it like that. So why was this price spike made? I gotta find out. Probably some BS accounting reason. Or maybe it was just some idiot making a mistake when arranging the delisting, because that's the standard price Sony games sell for. So maybe they just thought they were resetting it to standard price and delisting it. I don't know. Who knows? But it never actually affected any actual person or potential buyers. So it's stupid to be mad about it and point to it as if it was some sort of secret, underhanded, quiet scam. It was not any malicious, secret trickery from Sony. And people believe that lie because it does seem like something a company like Sony would do, doesn't it? It's an easy lie to believe. But people don't bother fact-checking. Even shit that is super easy to fact-check. You can check the price history on Steam games in like 4 seconds. It's so quick and easy to fact-check this stuff. But these people just believe any shit that lets them be mad online in a group mentality so they can feel part of a righteous mob. Because it does feel good to be part of a righteous mob. The only problem is you're not righteous, you're being tricked, you're an idiot. The third big lie people are spreading is about the PSN stuff. People are still throwing hissy fits about being asked to link a PSN account to a PlayStation game. I don't want to link my PlayStation account to this PlayStation game. Okay, so don't. Games are luxury items. You don't have to have them. But people are acting like this is some sort of conspiracy crap. But it's hardly unusual for games to require a third-party account so the dev can achieve certain features more easily. Have you ever heard any outrage farming around Diablo 4's requirement for linking a third-party account? A Blizzard account? Because it's always been there, since day one. But not a peep from the same people who are shitting their whole bed over PSN stuff for Horizon. You heard about it on Helldivers though, didn't you? Clumsily added as a requirement after launch as it was. People really noticed that one. And the addition of the PSN requirement to Helldivers meant it was no longer available for sale in countries where PSN doesn't legally exist. It was delisted from storefronts there because, well, you couldn't sell it to people and then say, hey, use a PSN account when people in those countries can't have PSN accounts. There was a big hissy fit over that, and rightfully so in some ways. There were review bombs, the whole Megillah, but even after the fact that it was made optional, at least for the moment, to appease the tantruming crowds, it still never went back on sale in those PSN-less countries. But despite that being the thrusting point of so many people's outrage, they didn't seem to care at all about it anymore now that they had their Pyrrhic victory. It was disingenuous rage, fake rage. No one, and I mean no one, stood by their convictions, as I proved in a video at the time, tearing apart this BS. It was all performative rage, and none of these screeching, shilling children had the dignity to hold to the convictions of their own proclaimed moralities. Now, yes, it's not really functionally essential for a single-player game like Horizon to have an account system tied into it like this. I mean, what's it functionally there for? But it does keep things consistent and easy when it comes to a bunch of stuff for PlayStation and its customers. We know PlayStation are planning their own ecosystem app and launcher for PC, and having all of their titles linked to a PSN account consistently for that and more makes complete sense. For example, how do you think the gamers, TM, would feel if only some of the PlayStation first-party published games on PC actually worked with the official PlayStation PC app? They'd throw a hissy fit, of course, all over again. It'd be a whole new set of fake, performative rage. Well, why do only some of PlayStation's games work with their own app? It's foolish. Look how silly they are. Sony is so stupid they can't even get all of their games to work with their own app. Again, don't pretend like that wouldn't happen exactly like that. You know it would. The PSN stuff isn't going away, no matter how much you shit your pants about it, because Sony have seen how performative and meaningless and fake the screeching over it is. Despite the review bombing and claims of boycotts, Helldivers 2's player base remained 100% consistent through it all. And I proved that, again, with Steam's own data when I made a video about it. I demonstrated that nobody stood by the convictions, no matter how much noise they were making. It is fake outrage, and Sony have seen that it's fake outrage, so they've got no reason to pay attention to it. So if the PSN requirement bugs you, I mean genuinely bugs you, honestly, is an issue for you, a real practical, moral issue for you, how about you do the one thing that actually matters to Sony and companies in general? Don't give them your money. Stand by your word. Stand by your so-called convictions, unlike you did with Helldivers 2 or God of War Ragnarok, which already made it to the top 50 sellers on Steam and has a mostly positive review rating, despite also having a PSN requirement. Again, despite the disingenuous tantrums of a loud but absolutely small minority of rage-baiting immature dillholes. Look, me, Blunty, Nate, hate having to defend Sony or take a position that would seem like I'm defending Sony. I really do not like them as a corporate entity. In fact, I took them to the mat so hard 10 years ago that I was blacklisted by their whole PR system, and they have never spoken to me, so much as responded to an email or even sent a press release to me since. That is how pissed off Sony PlayStation are at me because I held them accountable. I owe Sony nothing. I have no professional relationship with them to protect by acting in their defense, even if I was the type of creator who does that kind of despicable shit. Which, if you have been around here long enough, you know I'm not even capable of being that guy. It's not in my character. My brain is not wired up to allow me to be that kind of shill. Let's just say Sony and their PR team are not the only brand I have immolated bridges behind me over. There's several, because I do not put up with their bullshit. But there are so many things you can honestly criticize Sony for, legitimately criticize them for, with actual real evidence of really hostile and anti-consumer crap. When you imagine shit to be mad about, like what's happening with Horizon, or believe disinformation being spread by rage baiters and hate merchants, it does us all harm, like with the Helldivers 2 thing. Sony saw how performative that is, so now they know they can ignore it and not lose a single dollar. You make yourself look foolish for it, and it damages the legitimacy and earnestness of real criticism. So just stop. Take the 4 seconds it takes to fact-check stuff like the price history. For Christ's sake, get an attention span. Get an attention span, he says at the end of a video. The people who need to hear me on this are already gone. Hello to the rest of you. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you found this interesting, informative, entertaining, whatever. Thank you as always to the patrons scrolling away up above there. And now I've got this off my chest. Catch you next time.